All right, hello everyone and good evening. Welcome to Hate Live. Tonight is Thursday, October 30th, 2014. That is right. Boy, how time flies. We're already at the end of October, if you can believe it. And this is going to be a good episode of the show. I'm DSP, of course, your host. And we've got a lot to talk about this week. First of all, happy Halloween to everyone who is already celebrating it, because I know in some parts of the world, technically it's already October 31st. Here in the United States, it is still October 30th. And I know a lot of you are probably going to be off to your festivities, whether you're trick-or-treating, you're going to a party, you're dressing up. And many of you who aren't living in the United States right now are probably watching me and saying, why does Phil keep talking about Halloween like it's some big deal? In our country, it's really not that big of a deal. No, I know. It's actually gotten way bigger here in the United States. Just recently, in past years, it's become, I believe, the second to third biggest commercial holiday in the United States. Okay, so you can definitely see the mic in the shot, can't you? There we go. I was like, what is that bump down there? It's like, no, I didn't grow a giant afro on my ball hairs. No, that's actually the mic's top there. Okay, so yeah, so for many of you, in the United States, it's a very big deal. A lot of people don't talk about it outside of the United States. It's a big deal. They think it's just a kid's holiday. But here we do all kinds of stuff with horror movies. If you didn't see it this week, I actually did a special vlog with Leanna where we carved our very first jack-o'-lantern together. It's the first one I've done since I was a teenager, and we both loved it. That is live on the King of Hate vlogs right now on YouTube, so definitely check that out when you get a chance, okay? And now people in the stream chat, of course, are saying I should grow a giant afro on my balls, but we'll forego talking about genitalia hair right now. So, this is the final week of October. Starting next week, we've got some huge blockbuster games every single week until the end of November, pretty much, and leading into December to the point where there's no way that I'm going to have free time to really do anything. I'm just going to be constantly playing these new games, juggling them around. There's no way that I can possibly play all the games that are coming out in November in that month. Alright, there's just too many. So what I want to preface this with is that next week's Hate Live will be the final Hate Live for a while. Alright? So, as I said, no Hate Live. There will be Hate Live next week. No Hate Live the week after that or the week after that. The last week of November, I'm actually doing a special Thanksgiving edition of Ask the King. So definitely, if you have questions for that, on the forums already, there's a post up for that where you can post up your questions for the special Thanksgiving edition of Ask the King. But after next week, there will be no Hate Live until December. Okay? So the month without Hate Live. It's like the year without a Christmas, right? Or Santa Claus doesn't come to town or some shit. But yeah, there's not going to be another Hate Live until December. There's just too much going on. There is still a very strong possibility that next week we may have our very first special guest here on Hate Live. Again, I'm not going to spoil who that could possibly be. It might not come together. Right now, I have no confirmation whatsoever that this is going to happen, but I am working towards it, and I'm hoping that we can obtain that, okay? But enough about next week, enough about the future. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about tonight and what we're going to be doing tonight on Hate Live, okay? Live here from beautiful, rainy Washington. That's right, it's a nice rainy fall day here. And there's a lot to talk about, man. There's a lot going on right now in the realm of gaming, in the realm of stuff that I'm interested in. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with kind of a short recap of what I've been doing this past week, including a few things that I had no clue I would be doing that happened all of a sudden. So we'll talk about those. We're going to talk about what's coming up in the next several days leading into next week. Next week is a big gaming week, all right? And then we're going to talk about news stories. There are 3 big news stories that I really want to cover this week. Of course, there's still some fallout from last week that I'll talk about, but 3 big news stories this week, one involving YouTube, one involving probably the biggest botched game launch in one of, or at least one of the worst game launches in history, and then a huge amount of controversy surrounding the development and impending release of another game. So there's a lot to talk about this week in regards to news. So we're going to do all of that in our first segment. Undoubtedly, the segment's going to go long. It always does. And then we're going to have a short commercial break, and when we come back from that, we're going to be doing a very special Back in the Day. It's going to be a segment catered towards the season that we're about to head into, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you may be saying, well, this is the holiday season. This is a time of caring and sharing, of spending time with family, right? Of, holiday traditions and food and friends and caring and love. That's the season of the year that we're heading into. Wrong. We are heading into the biggest retail season of the year, ladies and gentlemen. The time when people go to stores and the product flies off the shelves and the parking lots are absolutely clogged and it takes you 4 hours to get out of the shopping mall or even drive down your own street because everyone's out shopping like crazy. It's begun. I've already seen it here in Washington State. As I drive around, I see there's more traffic. There's people at the stores going bonkers. We're in full retail mode, ladies and gentlemen, and this year's no exception. As we head into this shopping frenzy that is going to be November and December, we're going to be having a back in the day segment regarding advertising, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we're going to be talking about advertising when I was a child. In fact, when I was a child, I could definitely tell you that advertising was significantly different than it is today. Today, you watch TV, and you turn on your TV and a commercial comes on, and half the time, you don't even know what the fuck you're watching. You're like, what did they just advertise? Or like, what did the commercial that I just watched have to do with Geico? Or how is that supposed to make me hungry for this particular style of food, the commercial I just watched? Back in the day, things were simple. Things were very, very, made for like even the simplest mind could understand what they watch. It wasn't based off of making you think that the product was good. It was basically based off of viral marketing. Now, you might say to yourself, what was viral marketing back in the day? Today, viral marketing is do an internet meme that catches on and everyone's tweeting about it. No, none of that existed back then, okay? Back then, it was about you have to do something that resonates in the mind of the viewer and or listener that stays with them, that associates that with your product. And we're going to talk about basically some of the most catchy commercial campaigns ever during the 1980s that I, in particular, was majorly affected by, including some of the craziest, zaniest songs and jingles and things like that led to huge sales. I mean, some of you who didn't grow up during the 80s like I did are going to hear this shit and you're going to say, really? Like, that caught on and that made this thing become huge? Yeah, you wait till you hear some of the stuff. This is the stuff that I grew up with. Me trying to watch cartoons and seeing some of these weird jingles and things in commercials, you're like, what the hell am I watching, man? So, it was very different back then, and we're going to talk about that. That's going to be our Back in the Day segment. I figured, let's do something that's a little more pertinent to what's going on right now. We're about to head into the biggest shopping season of the year. Let's do the advertisement edition of Back in the Day, and I think that you'll like that, okay? Next week, as I said, there's a possibility of a special guest. There will be a Back in the Day segment next week as long as I can fit it in and it makes sense. There's a chance that if I do have a special guest and it takes up a long period of time, that maybe we won't have a Back in the Day segment next week, but we will talk about that as we approach it a little bit closer. I'm still waiting for a definitive answer on that, okay? All right, everyone, so let's actually get into the meat of the show now that we've done the introduction here. Let's talk a little bit about what I've been doing this week, what I think about the games that I've been playing this week, because I actually have a lot to say. This is a week where it was multiple game releases. I didn't do a first impressions video or anything like that, and I want to let you know what I think about these games overall as we progress on further in the week. We had a special opportunity to do something special earlier today that I loved, and I really hope you guys will give it a chance, but we're going to talk about that in a moment. Let's do that. Let's review. So this week, we did a few things. We finished off a few things that were kind of lingering. Unfortunately, we did not get to finish Parasite Eve. Literally two times this past week, I wanted to play Parasite Eve as my main stream, and things went wrong. And I apologize for that. Sometimes I don't feel well. Sometimes things just went wrong and it wouldn't even let me get to sleep. All kinds of shit kind of happened in this past week. Most of it being private stuff you guys don't even need to be bothered by, okay? I just want everyone to know I'm fine. I'm perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing horrible to happen. It's just that things sometimes in real life get in the way of me wanting to do what I want to do, and I know it concerns some people, and I wish I could share 100% of my life with you guys, but it's not worth it, especially in some of the silly stuff that goes on that's like, oh, well, I can't stream now, so unfortunately, we did not get to finish Parasite Eve. That doesn't mean that I'm not interested in finishing it. In fact, I very much am interested in finishing it, and I want to finish it as soon as I can. So, what I want to tell you is, even though right now I'm in the middle of 2 games, even though there's a new game coming out this week, if we finish up this stuff this week and we have free time, Parasite Eve is #1 on the docket, okay, for me to get back to, because I very much enjoyed playing it for the 2 sessions that I did, and I want to get back to it, okay? Alright, so now let's talk about this week's new releases. There were 2 of them. And quite honestly, it was just kind of a weird anomaly week because the games that came out are not the normal games that you would even expect during the hardcore gaming season, this big retail gaming season of the fall. Let's talk about them a little bit. First of all, This game called Sunset Overdrive. It's the next game from Insomniac Studios. Insomniac, who was the studio that made Ratchet and Clank. They made a few other games in between. And there's this Xbox One exclusive game that we first heard about back in E3 2013. And since then, you get little snippets here or there. But really, when you even heard about it back in E3 2013, you were like, what the hell is this game supposed to be? So you can grind on rails and you can fly through the city fast, kind of like Infamous. But you can shoot guns, kind of like a third-person shooter. But the game has a zany kind of weird plot, kind of like Saints Row. But it's got zombies and supposedly some survival horror, like some other game. Like, what is this game supposed to be? And I can tell you now, guys, after playing this game for 2 days and 2 sessions, I can definitively tell you that Sunset Overdrive doesn't know what it wants to be. And that's kind of one of the problems I have with the game, is that it's got a major identity crisis. Sometimes you'll be fast traveling. Sometimes you'll want to just go from point A to point B, traveling really fast with your hovering ability or your air dashes or grinding on rails. It's never even explained why you have these powers. It's so weird. Crazy-ass zany weapons that seem to scream Saints Row. So, for example, there's, the teddy bear grenade launcher, right? And there's the freeze ray, and there's the pyro gun that's really not pyro. It shoots actual firecrackers and stuff. Zany stuff that you would expect from a game like Saints Row. And a lot of the things in the game are very similar to Saints Row. Like there's overly commercialism, and it's an evil energy drink that turns everyone into zombies. You have to fight the giant mascot of the energy drink. Silly shit like you would expect in Saints Row 3 or 4 is pretty much the norm for this game. And so you're like, wow, so is that what it wants to be? But then all of a sudden there's a survival horror aspect, because all these people have been turned into hideous mutant creatures that explode, and there's gore and stuff. And you're like, well, that's kind of weird. And then the plot is just totally out there with zany characters that are just crazy for the sake of being weird. And I mean, after 2 days of playing this game, I can't actually just kind of put my finger on it and say, this is what the game is. I can't even really explain it. You know what I mean? And then it even has tower defense, which, like, why did you expect there to be tower defense in this game? But there is. You set down little traps as waves of these mutated enemies are coming towards your still that I guess is trying to make some kind of liquid. I don't even understand it. And I played it for 2 days. I still don't even know what the fuck's going on in this game. That's how weird it is. Now, again, I want you to understand something. I'm not saying that makes the game bad. I'm just saying it makes it weird. And when you get a game that's this kind of weird, that every moment you're doing something really off the wall, weird and different and zany, and it's not really coherent, I don't know if that can hold a customer base or a gamer base. And honestly, if you were to ask a reviewer to review this game, I don't even know how you would review it, because it's so fucking weird. It's just like weird for the sake of being weird, instead of like, oh, that's funny, or that's quirky, or that's different. It's just kind of, what the hell am I playing? You know what I mean? And, I don't know, it's just odd. And I don't, the thing is, I don't even know how far into it I am. I played it for about 3 hours on Tuesday and 2 hours yesterday. And I don't know how long the game is, but I figure another few streams I'll probably beat it, and I don't know if my opinion will change of it. But it's just so fucking weird. Like, welcome to the awesome apocalypse. That's the catch line for the game. The awesome apocalypse. So the world is ending. Everyone's being mutated into a mutant freak, but it's awesome. Like, huh? You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's very incoherent. So that's one game that I wanted to talk about. The other game that I've been playing this week is a game that a lot of people said is kind of a rip-off, a knockoff. Some people just said it's in the spirit of Dark Souls. And it's a game that, unfortunately, in my opinion, kind of has a lot of things missing from it that make Dark Souls a much better game, but at the same time, it has its own charm. The game that I'm talking about is Lords of the Fallen, which is only available on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. They actually canceled the last-gen versions of these games because they said they wanted to focus on the next-gen. Well, I don't know. If we're focusing on the next gen, a game that only runs at lower than 30 frames per second, I don't know how much you can say you really focused on the next gen rather than you just ported the graphics or whatever. But Lords of the Fallen, first of all, from the moment that you start playing it, you realize that it's kind of like, it feels a little different than Dark Souls, but the controls are almost the same. if I can even tell you, it seems like it's a slower-paced game than Dark Souls. Like, every enemy is, for the most part, is slow, but you're slow, and you take tons of damage, but you barely deal any at first, and then later on you realize there's different quirks that you should be using. Like, there's magic, but the game never literally tells you anything about the magic. You just need to figure it out for yourself by fumbling through menus and mashing buttons so you find out what the control is to activate your magic. And, I basically got to the second boss of the game before I even realized I had magic spells. How bad was that, right? Then again, you have to kind of realize that, you know, Dark Souls was kind of like that too, so maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know. But basically the game is like Dark Souls light, meaning imagine Dark Souls with a little bit less complexity, maybe with a little bit less difficulty, but with a little bit less polish too. And what I really mean by that is the game does scream in certain parts, man, this game needed more polish. For example, you'll be fighting a guy, an enemy, who you're locked onto, and the camera will decide to just go inside your body, so now it almost looks first person, but you're actually stuck against the wall and you can't move, because the game basically locked you in place when the camera fused with your body, and you're fumbling around with the controls trying to say, fuck, I'm gonna die, this is a game where you die with 2 hits, I gotta get the fuck out of here, and it frustrates the shit out of you. There was also a boss fight, and this is pretty much my highest viewed video of the playthrough so far. The second boss fight is incredibly flawed and glitched. And there were some idiots who watched the video, and literally there's glitches and the game freezes, and we're saying, oh, you just don't like the game because you suck at it. I'm like, no. I liked Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Dark Souls too, even though I wasn't particularly great at those games. I can recognize a great game when I play it. This game has problems. So, in this second boss fight, the whole premise of the boss is that he has a giant fucking shield, and you can't hit him when the shield is there. You have to wait for him to do attacks that allow him to like go into an animation where you can go behind him and attack him from behind. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if you actually watch my first attempt at this boss, I'm literally standing directly behind the boss, wailing on him with a weapon, and it does 0 damage, even though that's the premise of the boss fight. So the game obviously has major hitbox issues. Then, during that same boss fight, the boss was supposed to go into a mode where he goes completely invincible while minions come out and you fight the minions. Guess what? He froze in place and didn't go into that mode and just stood there like this, duh, while I wailed on him with my weapon and did massive amounts of damage. Then he unfroze, turned around to fight me, and the game crashed, and the whole boss fight canceled out. And it was like, what the fuck happened here? Seriously. And that's the problem with this game, is like, it seems like there's stretches of the game where it's actually quite good, and you're like, wow, this is kind of like a new Dark Souls. I kind of like it in that regard. And then all of a sudden some stupid shit like that happens, and you're like, what happened? It's like a completely different person designed this portion of the game and then this portion, and they never tested this portion. And it almost seems like that, like maybe a certain person designed that boss fight, but no one really tested it properly, so no one knew that that shit could happen, versus the good stuff that was before and the good stuff that was after, and you have to suffer through the bad parts of the game to get to the good parts. In addition, later on in the game, as I've played a little bit longer, I actually thought it got better. Like, there was a third boss, and he was cheap. He was very powerful, he summoned minions, and he has an insta-kill attack that if you don't hide in a certain area of the map, it instantly kills you. But I only lost to him, the thing is, it worked. There were no bugs, I could damage him, and after 3 attempts, I beat him on the 3rd attempt. It's kind of like Dark Souls-esque. You need to do trial and error on these bosses, so you find the technique you need to use to kill those bosses, and then you can kill them, versus just a boss that's horribly glitched. You know what I mean? So, I like it. I like the game. I'm, at this point, I think I'm about 5 hours into that game, too. And I'll be honest, do I like it as much as I like Dark Souls? No. You could tell, the game screams, give me more polish, this game needed more polish, okay? But, for what it is, a game from a studio that I haven't heard from or know of, and a game that is kind of like their first attempt at doing something like this, it's actually not bad. In fact, if this had come out, if no Dark Souls had ever been out, and this game had kind of come out and I had played it for the first time, I might actually be like, wow, I'm blown away at how good it is. The thing is, we already had Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2, all of which do this a little bit better, and therefore it makes this feel like it's a little inferior to it, okay? So, we played those 2 games this week, and those playthroughs are continuing on. Today, we had a unique opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to say something. I want to say very special thanks to a few people. First of all, to Machinima, because Machinima gave me the opportunity to participate today in the advanced alpha of Evolve. Evolve is this game made by the same dev team who created Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 back in the day. And this dev team hasn't done anything in years. They've actually been working on this new game, a cooperative hunter-shooter game called Evolve, where you either play one of four kind of hunter-poachers, each with unique attributes and abilities such as assault, support, medic, and trapper. And you're all taking on this gigantic monster who's also controlled by a human character, or a human player, I should say. And it's unique gameplay. Either you're using your unique traits to accentuate your team, maybe to defend your allies, to heal them, to fight the monster, to trap the monster in a certain area. If you're the monster, you're running and trying to survive for the first 2/3 of the gameplay as you try to run away from all the hunters and eat and feast on animals, but the more animals you feast on, you evolve and become more powerful. Once you become your highest strength level, now finally you really have a good chance to take out those hunters, and you can try to maybe kill them one by one by sneaking away and sneak attacking them, or you could possibly try to take them all on at once, or maybe they're going to do something different where they try to defend this reactor core that happens to be on the stage, and if you destroy this reactor core, then you win instantly if you're the monster. It's a really interesting game, and I'm going to be honest, when I first heard about it, I was apprehensive. I said, I don't know, man, because there's a few other games that have come out recently that claimed that they were going to do something differently, and then when you actually played them, they kind of ended up being blasé and or like something else you've played. So Titanfall, oh, we're going to combine the super jumping, running and gunning kind of crazy gameplay of Modern Warfare plus Unreal Tournament. We're going to combine that with mech combat, and it's going to be great. And everyone played the game for a week and said, this game is boring as shit. We already did everything within a week. I don't want to fucking play this anymore. So whenever you get these games that are online only, you got to be apprehensive, right? Destiny. Look at Destiny. The game had an insane production budget, fucking ads out the ass. I still see ads on TV for Destiny. Why? Everyone has critically panned this game and said that it's boring as fuck. After, say, 10 to 12 hours, there's no reason to ever play it again. It's completely overhyped, and it's nothing original whatsoever in this game. It's the most basically lifted game, meaning stealing other people's ideas and slamming it together of any game ever. So now we have the two big flops like that. You get another game like Evolve. Well, it's from Left 4 Dead. Does that mean that the gameplay of the 4 people who work cooperatively is going to be like Left 4 Dead? And this big monster, does that mean it's, is it going to be like something else? Well, finally today, I got to play it on Xbox One, and keep in mind this was the alpha, alright? The alpha, which is not the full build of the game or whatever, and the game had some flaws. There were audio pops that we were hearing in the audio that was really annoying, and the game crashed a couple times, and we had some matchmaking issues. But despite all that, the core game itself is actually really fun. I don't know if I can explain why. There's a reason. I actually enjoyed playing both as the humans and the monster. And it's interesting to see the sides, because if you play as the humans and you work together, you're healing each other, you're boosting each other, you're helping each other up, the game is actually pretty fun to take down this giant monster as a big team and teamwork. But if you don't work together, there's almost no chance you could take this thing down, because it's so big and powerful and has so much health. It's incredibly hard to take it down unless you're actually teaming up with each other and actively working together. The monster is the complete opposite. He's a one-man army, but at the beginning of the game, he's quite weak. And if you end up getting caught at the beginning of the game without using some good stealth techniques to outrun your opponents, you're actually going to get fucked up really quick. But once you start eating monsters and running away from these enemies for long enough, and now all of a sudden, oh, you're a level 3 evolved monster, now the tides have turned and the entire gameplay changes. Now it's time for you to take on those humans and see if you can wipe them out. It's a lot of fun, and I played as both sides. I won matches and lost matches on both sides. And this point, keep in mind, I've only played it for about maybe 3 hours. I really enjoy it. I mean, I went from literally not knowing much about the game and being apprehensive about it, knowing that, oh god, we had these 2 big overhyped titles that came out this past year that ended up being, crappy. I'm really worried about this. Now that I've played it, my expectations have gone from here to here. Like, no lie. Like, I'm that excited now to play the retail version of Evolve. I'm actually that much interested in it to check out the other monsters, right? There's actually other characters you can unlock in the game, the new maps. I am, like, into it. I want to play it. And in fact, the videos are live on YouTube now, and they just went live a little while ago, so it's not like they had an opportunity for a lot of people to see them or anything, and no one's really, giving any feedback yet. But from the gameplay on the stream, the people who watched the stream loved it. They were like, this is fun as hell to watch someone do this, and I can't wait to play it myself. And And so just so you guys know, if you want to get in on this alpha, there's two ways to do it. Either you need to register through certain social media means. I believe that they had some kind of a Facebook page or some kind of a page where you could have registered to get in on it. Or if you pre-order the game, you're supposed to get into it as well. But at this point, I don't know, because it's live now for Xbox One. It goes live tomorrow for PS4, and it's only going on through this weekend until the end of Sunday. So once it goes off on Sunday, I don't know if it's ever going to turn on again. So I don't know if you're like really interested. If you want to rush out and pre-order Evolve to see if you can get into the beta or the alpha or whatever, I don't know. But it is so much fun. I mean, really, I freaking liked it a lot, and I really want to play this game again, to the point where people on the stream, let me tell you, there was great stream numbers for something that I have announced out of thin air. People were there and were like, this is great. And the people who were on the stream literally were saying, Phil, you have to play this again this weekend. Because I was close. I actually won with the monster a few times. And I got very close to unlocking a new monster. And people were like, we want to see that new monster so bad. Please keep playing so we can see the new monster. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't have time to play more today, but maybe this weekend. So there's a very strong possibility that you come this Saturday or Sunday that I may actually be playing the Evolve Alpha on Xbox One again to see if I can unlock the new monster, okay? So let me know if that's what you want to see. If you watch these videos on DSP Gaming and you're like, wow, this is way better than I thought it was, I want to see Phil play it more, I'm really liking it, let me know, and maybe on Saturday or Sunday I'll set aside a stream, and that's what we'll do, okay? This is good for variety, too. Excuse me. Okay, so that's what I've pretty much been up to this week. The 2 new releases and this alpha for Evolve. What's coming up in the next several days? Allow me to explain so there's no confusion, all right? Tomorrow, we're going to have 2 gameplay streams. Yes. And the question is, again, I've been doing this all week, and I'm going to do it again tonight. Another straw poll between Lords of the Fallen and Sunset Overdrive. Which do you want to see on first stream? Which do you want to see more? Okay? So, vote for it tonight. It'll go live tonight on my Twitter account, @TheyCallMeDSP. That's where I tweet this stuff out daily. And please vote overnight and let me know which do you want to see on first stream tomorrow. Because right now, I'm kind of split right down the middle on these games. I don't know which one I want to play more, so I need your opinion, all right? Based off that straw poll, we'll have one of those games on first stream tomorrow, and one will be on second stream. In addition to that, tomorrow is the next Hardcore Gaming Season giveaway. So I want to emphasize that this is your last chance to enter. If you did not enter into last week's giveaway, please check out the video over on the King of Hate Vlogs on YouTube right now. You only have a very short amount of time, less than 24 hours to enter before I pick the new winner, okay? So get to it. And then, of course, I will announce the next giveaway item. Keep in mind, we've got some good giveaway items coming up this year still. We got about 1 more month of the giveaway to go, including a 3DS that I'm giving away. I'm actually giving away my old Nintendo 3DS. That should be pretty cool. So definitely check all that out, okay, everybody? All right. So, now let's talk about what to expect after Friday. Well, Saturday is going to depend on how many people say, wow, you know, this sounded good, and we really want to hear more about Evolve and see more of Evolve. If people are really into Evolve, I'll either play it on Saturday or Sunday, one of those days. I'm just not sure what day I'm going to do it yet, okay? And then whatever day I don't play it, I'll probably be playing another one of the playthroughs continuing on. And by the way, I don't think at this point, I'm going to be either Lords of the Fallen or Sunset Overdrive by next week. That's perfectly okay, because next week there's only one new release, which we are going to talk about now, because it is a huge one. People want to know, how am I going to cover it? And it actually is going to lead directly into the first news story of the night that I think you guys are going to be very interested in, okay? So, tomorrow, the 2 games, in whatever order you vote. Saturday and Sunday, probably one of those games, the Evolve Alpha, again, if you want to see it. If not, people overwhelmingly say, we don't really like it. Then I'll just keep doing gameplay of each of the 2 games that I'm playing. We're going to have the weekend preview, Sunday night like usual. Monday is the premiere of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. And I want to clarify all of this for you guys right now so you all understand what's happening with this game, all right? Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I am playing it starting Monday. Why Monday? Because the game comes out on Monday for people who pre-ordered it. That's right. They're actually calling it Day Zero Edition. If you pre-ordered the game at GameStop, you get it a day early. Everywhere else, you have to wait till Tuesday, but if you pre-ordered it at GameStop, you get it a day early. So I'm going to head over there Monday morning, to pick up the game, okay? And I have decided, I have made the executive decision to, number one, I'm getting it on PlayStation 4. I know that a lot of people, is he getting it on Xbox One? Is he getting it on... I'm getting it on PlayStation 4 because there's a strong chance that this week I'm going to be teaming up with both Howard and Coruchado, and we're probably going to be taking on some of the survivor mode gameplay in the game together, cooperatively. So I already talked to them about it. They said they were interested. They're both getting the game. We just have to logistically plan it out for the same time that we can do it, and I don't know when that is yet, but that's why I'm getting the PlayStation 4 version of the game, okay? I'm picking that up on Monday, and I am going to be, for the very first time ever, and I know some people are going to be, what is this? Some people are going to be like, I don't understand why. I've decided to play the multiplayer of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare first. I am foregoing the campaign to first get a nice big dose of the multiplayer of Advanced Warfare on Monday. Okay? So that first stream you're going to see on Monday is all multiplayer. 3 to 4 hours of solid multiplayer in the new game, which is all anyone wants to really see. Let's face it. Yes, people are interested in me playing the campaign, but after last year's campaign and all the hype dying out, I think I want to focus on the multiplayer this time around. I will do the campaign. Don't take it the wrong way. I am going to check out the campaign, but I want to do the multiplayer first. I know that's a difference for me. I don't usually do that. Okay, so that's going to be Monday, okay? And then over the course of the week, I will be playing that game, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I will be doing the campaign. I'll be playing multiplayer. I'll be doing co-op with, like I said, Coruchado and Nestor at some point. But I'm going to be balancing that also with the continuing playthroughs from this past week that I haven't finished until finally we start to finish things up. Or, God forbid, but I want to say it, something happens and I just lose interest. And that's the point of that I'm kind of making with the two games that I'm playing this week, Sunset Overdrive and Lords of the Fallen, is that they're not games that are really retaining interest. After playing Sunset Overdrive for 2 days, I still don't really know what the game is, and I'm not, like, hooked, you know what I mean? Lords of the Fallen, I think, a little bit more so now that I've gotten further into the game, but again, it's still, is this a game that I need to play to completion? I'm going to feel like I really got my money's worth and I feel like it's a complete package, or is it more just going to feel like, man, I kind of wish I was just playing a new Dark Souls instead of this? So, I don't know. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to continue on with those games for the next several days into the next week and see what happens. If I end up finishing games early or earlier than expected, then we will be going back to Parasite Eve. If we beat Parasite Eve, then we're going to be going back to Tales of Exilia 2, which has been on hold for 3 months now, and people are like, what the hell is Phil ever going to beat this game? Okay? So now in regards to all the stuff that I just told you, there's something that I want to talk about because it is a big news story that directly ties into how I'm going to be covering that content in the next week. In fact, as of today, it actually has changed, and I don't know how many people realize this or not, so let's cover it. So for 4 to 5 long months, I think it was about 5 months ago now at this point, YouTube made this public announcement. They said, we are going to support 60 frames per second video. We realize that this is the future, that the next generation of consoles, many games will be covered in 60 frames per second, not 30. We realize that this is where people want to head. They want more. They want to move into this next era. And so we are going to have a website that will support 60 frames per second, but not yet. We're working on it, but not yet. And they gave no time frame. They gave no kind of explanation of how it would be rolled out or anything. Nothing. No information at all. Just, it's coming. And so, over that course of time that we've been waiting for YouTube to tell us again what's going on, I moved here to the state of Washington from the state of Connecticut. I upgraded my system here. I have a much more powerful PC. I have new capture hardware and software. I basically do things completely differently now than I used to back when I lived in Connecticut and had the downgraded setup, okay? So now, I can actually record, broadcast live on Twitch, and upload and play games all in 1080p and 60 frames per second. Now, the thing is, there's a catch. The catch is, when you do that, there's always the chance that you're going to, number one, push the limits of your processor and your PC. As we saw a couple weeks back when I tried to play the game The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, and I couldn't even do it. The game was so graphically intensive that I couldn't capture, stream, and play the game without frame rate drops that just made the game look awful, alright? Number two, in order to capture and stream at 1080p 60 frames per second, it takes an incredible amount of bandwidth and bitrate. So just to give you guys some example, when I used to live in Connecticut, the videos that I used to make, 720p 30 frames per second videos, okay, on average would be captured at around 3,500 kilobytes per second. That's the amount of data rate that you're using when you convert your video. I would probably say those videos on average would be anywhere from 200 to 500 megabytes in size, okay? Now, I'm doubling that. I went from 3,500 to almost 6,500 kilobytes per second in order to go to the higher quality video. What that means, unfortunately, is that when I'm live streaming, some people are not going to be able to watch the high quality stuff because your internet is just not up to snuff. And that's not your fault. That's right now the infrastructure of the internet, especially in the United States, is not set up to support giant bit rates. And in fact, Twitch TV kind of looks down upon streaming above 3,500 kilobytes per second, but they allow partners like myself to do it without any kind of, problem. So right now, I'm streaming low. Right now, I'm probably streaming around 3,500 for this podcast, but when I'm actually doing gameplay, it's way higher. And so if you try to watch my streams on source quality, you may have issues, okay? But the good news is that this week, YouTube said we are now finally adopting the 60 frames per second. All you need to do is upload that video that was recorded in 60 frames per second to the website, and it will show in 60 frames per second. So here's the thing. They literally just launched it yesterday. They just launched it, okay? And I'm not playing any games that run at 60 frames per second. I'm not. The games that I'm playing this week, Sunset Overdrive, Lords of the Fallen, and Evolve, all run at 30 frames per second, all right? But I noticed recently people have been saying to me that they were complaining. They were saying, Phil, do you aware that when we watch your videos now that they seem choppier? Like the frame rate is lower. And I'm like, I'm capturing at 60 frames per second, so how can you tell me when I'm uploading at a frame rate that's higher than what YouTube supports that my videos are looking choppier than usual? It just logically doesn't make sense. But it's true. I actually watched some of the videos of Alien Isolation, The Evil Within, and they were choppy, and I'm like, it's not me. I could actually watch the raw file on my computer, and there's no choppiness. I'm like, well, how could this be then? What's causing this? And the bottom line is it just has to be YouTube. YouTube changed something on the website that made the higher quality videos look shittier, okay? All right, so here's what happened today. I want to give you guys some perspective because I think this is going to be good news for those of you who want to see better quality video from me, okay? This week, I was recording at 30 frames per second all week because I was under the impression the games only ran at 30 frames per second. Today when I played Evolve, okay, I had no clue if it was going to be 30 or 60 or somewhere in between when it came to frames. So I actually set my setup to be 1080p, the resolution, 60 frames per second, and a high bit rate. So I think it was 6,500 kilobytes per second, and that's what I streamed at, and that's what I recorded at. And I'm here to tell you, let me tell you guys, I actually went back and watched some of the videos that are live on YouTube in the 1080p. It actually lists now, it says 60 frames, which is odd, but they call it out. It says it's now 60 frames. The game only runs at 30 frames per second, but it looks gorgeous. Like, it looks like the raw video. It looks like they didn't destroy the quality of my video this time. It actually looks like they didn't change it at all, like I'm watching the raw video on my PC. And it was smooth and animated and nice, and people have just commented, they said, Phil, you said the game's not in 60 frames, but the video says it is, and it looks amazing. Like, comparing that to the videos you've been putting out this week or the past few weeks with other playthroughs, it's smooth. And I'm like, so if I just upload a video that's recorded at 30 frames per second, YouTube's going to reduce the number of frames and make it look terrible. But if I upload a 30 frames per second video recorded at 60 frames per second, it looks like it's 30 frames. What? It doesn't even make sense. It really doesn't even make any sense. It's just like, what? Like, why? I don't get, it blows my mind. So I'm literally, from now on, going to have to record better than what I want it to look like so that it will actually upload and look like what I want it to look like on YouTube. So the bottom line is this. From now on, guys, I'm going to be recording games at 1080p, 60 frames per second, okay? So I'm sorry if you're watching my streams on Twitch and for some reason you're trying to watch on source quality and it's just not working well. I'm sorry. I really do apologize, but that's a problem of the internet infrastructure of the world right now, is that we all don't have great fiber optic internet that can support that, all right? If you have it, great. If not, I recommend watching at a lower quality. If you're watching my videos on YouTube, I strongly recommend that from now on, if at all possible, you watch them at 720p, 60 frames per second, or if you even can, 1080p 60 frames per second, because for whatever reason, those versions look good. It looks like they didn't chop up the frame rate or fuck with my video at all. I cannot guarantee you that other versions or lower qualities are going to look as good. YouTube, like I said, has been really screwing with things. I think they're changing their whole site now to support this new 60 frames, and it's basically downgrading all of their video. So, fingers crossed that this works out. I recommend that's how you guys watch my videos moving forward. It's especially going to be prominent this week in particular with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare because that game has always run at 60 frames per second. So that'll be the first time you actually get to see me play a game in full 60 frame per second glory on YouTube. I think it's going to be great. I hope that you'll be there to check it out this week. My first 60 frame per second playthrough will be Call of Duty this week. Oh, okay. I'm out of water. I'm going to have to switch over to my Metro Mint water for a second until I finish these news stories. Because we got 2 news stories to cover right now. Okay, everybody. So the first news story that we have this week is highly controversial. What else is new? We have 2 controversial stories this week. The first one I want to talk about is probably one of the biggest botched launches of a game ever in history. And it's directly the fault of the game developer. And it's put major egg on the face of Sony as a publisher, the game developer, like everyone, okay? And the game I'm talking about is Drive Club. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a history lesson in regards to my experiences with this game Drive Club. Because I'm very disappointed that at this point I'm in no situation to even play the game properly, and I'm glad that I returned it. And I'm going to explain what I mean, because some people don't even realize that I bought it and returned it and never opened it, alright? So let's talk about Drive Club, okay? Drive Club is a driving game that was supposed to have revolutionary features. Unlike other driving games where you're just kind of driving along and racing against other people, and maybe there's a campaign where you have to win a certain amount of races, this was supposed to be this social experience. You and up to 5 other people team up to create a club where you guys are doing all kinds of stuff to rank your club up, get social media interactions. You know what I mean? Like, it was supposed to be like this really high-tech, modern version of a driving game where you can really integrate things into your life, Facebook and Twitter, and also have your rankings go up and have your different racers participating in events and giving your club boosts and being better in prestige and stuff like this. And everything sounds great, right? Like, all that sounds like, wow, it seems like you're taking a racing game from this kind of offline or just generic race atmosphere and turning it into this always online, almost organic experience, and it sounds like it's a great idea. Now, this idea was first proposed at E3 2013 during the kind of announcement and showing of the PlayStation 4, and they announced that this game was going to be a launch title for the PlayStation 4 in the fall of 2013, and it would actually be free for PS Plus users. So, of course, everyone was like, that doesn't seem to make sense. Like, why would you make a game free for PS Plus users? It just really doesn't make a lot of sense at all. Like, and then, of course, it was announced, oh, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. The free version is a watered-down version of the game. It's only going to have limited cars and limited tracks. It's basically to give you a taste of the game. So if you like the free version, maybe you'll buy the full version and get all the features, right? So it's kind of like, okay, I understand you're not really giving me the full game. You're giving me almost like a trial, and if I like it, I'll get the full game. Well, who's going to complain about that? Everyone who has PlayStation 4 got PS Plus because they all wanted to play games online, similar to Xbox Live required to play your games online on any Xbox system. So, literally, 2 weeks before the release of PlayStation 4, there's a huge switch. Where, oh, well, we were going to give you Drive Club, but we've got word that the game's not ready. And so we're going to not do that. Drive Club is not even coming out this year. We're delaying it until next year sometime. We're going to give you this game Contrast. A game that, number one, had already been out on the PC for a while. Or it was an indie title, and sure, it was quirky and interesting, but it was nothing that was going to blow anyone away. And quite honestly, it's a short game. It's a throwaway game, and I don't think anyone would have really bought the game on PS4 anyway if they didn't give it away for free. So really, you're telling me, oh, a cool, awesome trial to a next-gen driving game that I can see if I like it, I'll go buy, or a little rinky-dink couple-hour kind of puzzler that I could have played on PC anyway and no one really cares about. So there was massive amounts of disappointment when the PS4 was released that was the game that we got for free, okay? I tried to drink my drink with the cap on. I'm a genius. Okay. So that was a year ago. Fast forward to just a few months ago. Wow, after a year of extra development, the game is finally going to come out in early October, and we're all excited. A big race game for the PS4, an exclusive. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if you guys even knew about this, but there's this rumor, and then it became a news story, and Yahoo News and a couple other news outlets picked it up, that the game developer had actually said in interviews that Drive Club was ready to launch last year. That literally it was ready to go. And something happened internally amongst Sony and the execs and the game developers and said that they didn't want to release it last year, that they're going to put it off till late 2014, even though the game was ready to go. Now, undoubtedly, I'm sure that over the course of 2014, they added more features and they tweaked more stuff and they did more things with the game. But it was weird that it's just a weird story. Like, what happened that they decided that, oh, we're going to wait and we're going to put out next year, after promising everyone who got a PS4 you were going to get this trial version for free, and then they just kind of said, fuck it. So all that happens, and now there's all this, this mysterious air around the game. The game finally comes out on October 7th in the United States. Immediately starts having problems. Now, I actually bought the game, okay? I bought Drive Club, but during that week, there were also multiple other releases that I was playing that I actually wanted to play way more. Like, I'll be honest, Alien Isolation, I wanted to play way more than Drive Club, okay? So Drive Club was kind of like, goes on the back burner until I get through the games that I'm playing and I really want to finish. So, Drive Club, I bought it and it just sat over there. And what ended up happening was one of the most frustrating weeks ever for racing fans who've been waiting for this game adamantly since the fall of 2013. The game didn't work. Keep in mind, the core of Drive Club is a social networking aspect where you have a club of people driving around, interacting, having rankings for your team and doing things. None of it worked. So they actually ended up disabling. People couldn't get into servers to even play the game. It would take them half an hour or longer of just clicking refresh to finally get onto a server and be able to play the game. Once you played the game, there were people who were getting disconnected and not able to rejoin. The clubs weren't working at all. So by that weekend, the game developer just said, fuck it, scrap it. We're disabling everything this launch weekend to figure out what's going on with this game because nothing's working. In addition to all of that, again, they said, well, since the people who bought the game can't even play it, we're not even going to do the PS Plus version yet until we figure out what the hell is going on with these servers. Now, normally you would say, well, it's all right because, a launch title like this, it came out and, even though they had the extra year, maybe they didn't have the ample time to test the servers, and I'm sure they'll have this worked out within, say, a week. And then a week passed and everyone said, I'm sure they'll have this worked out within 2 weeks. Well, guess what? It's the end of October, and the issues still aren't worked out. The issues are still significantly bad, to the point where today, I kid you not, I just read a news story about it in my phone. I got a news story about it, saying that the head of Sony, I have to see if I still have it here. No, I don't think I did. I think I might have deleted it. Shit. Because that would have been nice to read it straight from the news story. I don't have it. The head of Sony came out and publicly apologized and said, we screwed up. There's insane amount of network errors with this game. Apparently, the game developer claims that during the course of testing in the past year, they didn't see any of these errors. I have to ask, what kind of testing did they fucking run that they didn't realize, you know what I mean, that people would want to play the PlayStation 4 exclusive racing game, and they didn't test thoroughly? Like, how did you test it? Did you have 4 people in a room playing on a fucking LAN? Or did you actually have maybe 100, 200 people hooked up on a test server somewhere all playing the game at once? Or did you have a couple thousand people? Did you even have a beta for this game? I don't know, because I wasn't part of it. But what testing did you do? It wasn't sufficient. You know what I mean? I mean, it just wasn't. And whoever was in charge of that, it failed. You failed at your job. Because as of right now, the game is almost unplayable. And they actually publicly apologized and said, listen, we're very sorry. We're working as much as we can. We're deploying patches. We really want to make this game work for everyone. And we're sorry you're having such a horrible experience. But because we can't even get the people who bought the game working yet, there's no chance we're releasing that PS Plus version anytime soon. And it is indefinitely canceled. Well, let me say that again. Indefinitely delayed. He didn't say cancel, he said delayed. So when something's indefinitely delayed, it probably means it's never happening, all right? And I'm not here to be a cynic or to be a dick about it, but when you say that something was coming out in the fall of 2013 to people who were PS Plus subscribers, and a year later you still can't give it to them, that's pretty bad. That was a promise that you failed a year ago, you failed again this year, now you're just failing altogether because you may not ever release it. That's ridiculous. And I'm going to be honest, I think that Sony needs to make up to their customers who have been PlayStation Plus subscribers for a year now. A lot of people have been sitting around patiently waiting for this game to come out to play the trial that they were promised, and they're still not getting it. Now, I don't know if Sony will do anything. They probably won't, because at this point, they probably spent so much money trying to get the game to work, and now they're just saying it's a failed experiment. It's just not going to work. The game's a piece of shit. And that's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate, because this is a game that was supposed to be the exclusive, for PlayStation 4 owners, that, Xbox had its Forza Horizon or whatever the hell it was, and the next month we got this game, The Crew, coming out. So you have a competition, direct competition, that games that work. To have a game that comes out like this that just doesn't work is a death sentence. And I almost get the feeling I'm hearing like the death knells, the Grim Reapers coming, that the people that worked on this game may shortly find themselves out of a job for doing such a poor job with this online component that's basically required to make the game unique. So it really is a sad story. It's a game that basically had potential. A game that a year ago people were so excited, right? Drive Club sounds good. Wow, I saw it at E3, and we're going to get it this fall. And then it was, oh, it's delayed. Well, that kind of sucks. Then it was, oh, it's delayed till the end of next year. That really sucks. Then it was, oh, now it's not coming out, and the game, if you buy it, doesn't work. Like, fuck this. I mean, the game, massive interest to... It's kind of like I said earlier. Before I had a little interest in Evolve, I played the alpha, and boop, massive interest. This is a game I had massive interest, doesn't even work. A year later, boop. Who cares about Drive Club anymore? And it's sad because there's a whole development studio that worked on this game. You're probably talking dozens, if not hundreds of people who were employed trying to make a great game. And just whatever happened with this testing of the netcode and the servers or whatever it is, they fucked up. And that's going to cost jobs, that's going to cost money, that screws over the consumer, that screws over the developer, it screws everyone over. And it's a sad situation, it's a sad state. And of course, for years, people are probably going to be pointing fingers, it was your fault, it was your fault, no, it was your fault, oh, who screwed this up so bad? But the bottom line is Drive Club is a miserable failure, and it's a sad, sad story, because I wanted to try it, and now at this point, I'm never going to play the game, and I don't think anyone's really going to be buying it ever again after all this controversy, so... It is what it is. Alright, so that's it. Now we have one more news story. And again, it's another one chock full of controversy. It's one that a lot of people have been talking about for a few weeks. I got many people asking me, gee, are you going to give me your opinion on this, Phil? You're going to talk about it on Hate Live or on Ask the King? I finally decided to address it because it's gotten to a point where it's kind of becoming almost mainstream news, this game. And it needs to be addressed. And I need to talk a little bit about it, okay? Ooh. Excuse me. I can't stop burping now. Excuse me. That's what happens when you have a delicious Italian dinner. We had homemade pizza. We actually made our own pizza. Well, okay, we didn't make the dough. We actually made just, the ingredients. We freshly topped a pre-made stone crust and had Italian-style salad. It was delicious. But I digress. Sorry about that. Let's talk about the final news story. There's currently a game being developed. A game that is being developed whose premise is violence, brutality, and killing for the sake of violence, brutality, and killing. It's not a game where there's a hero and against unstoppable odds and hordes of enemies that he has to very gorily kill, or a world of terrorists that are out to kill people in the ordered way of life. You have to murder several people to save the world. It's nothing like that at all. There is a game that's being designed that's going to basically be killing for the sake of slaughter. And that's it, okay? And, I got to give you the premise of it. I'll give you the premise of what the game is, okay? I'm going to tell you some of the controversy surrounding just the development of it in particular. Then I'm going to tell you, I could see both sides of an argument around this game, and I'm going to tell you my honest opinion, all right? And I'm going to reference some things that have happened recently in gaming and in real life as well that are going to be very appropriate to this line of discussion. So the name of the game that I'm describing is Hatred. Just the name of the game is Hatred. Now, I just want to completely disassociate myself from this and say, yeah, we're watching Hate Live. You can see the name of the show is Hate Live. Yes, I am called the King of Hate. It is my moniker. But you know me, it has nothing to do, the true meaning behind all that has nothing to do with being a hateful person, a person who's biased, a person who doesn't like a certain group of people, a person who just wants to slaughter or kill. For me, it's a completely different meaning. And so if you know who I am, you know that has nothing to do with my persona, all right? The game Hatred is supposed to be based around a game that someone is just literally, they're out of control. They've lost their mind. They have no morality left in their brain. They have lost the ability to judge right and wrong, and they have decided that they're going to take it upon themselves to kill as many innocent people as possible, okay? The game basically stars a guy in a big dark outfit, trench coat style thing with multiple automatic weapons, and the gameplay features him walking into an open area such as a mall or convenience store and just ripping bullets and explosives through the entire store, bodies flying, ripping apart, brutally being murdered everywhere for no fucking wanton reason. And it's just, you know, just every kind of disgusting thing that you can think about the existence of humanity is what this game is going to be. Killing just to kill, no actual explanation behind it, no logical thought behind it, no reasoning. You know, we've had mass shootings recently, and you say, why? And people keep looking for answers, and in a lot of cases, they just can't find them. It just happens, right? That's the premise of this game, is to become that person and kill as many people as possible for no fucking reason. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about this game. And, first of all, let's talk, has there ever been a game like that before? So let's think about it. There's some comparisons, right? You could say Grand Theft Auto. In a lot of regards, Grand Theft Auto has that ability right now. In any Grand Theft Auto game, you can walk out into the street with guns, just start shooting random passers-by, lure the cops will start coming in, you set traps, bombs, and shit for the cops, and as they come in, boom, 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 you just mass kill, right? Rank up your kills for the sake of doing it. Now, yeah, absolutely. In fact, since Grand Theft Auto 1, I don't know how many of you actually played Grand Theft Auto 1, I did. Grand Theft Auto 1 had features such as there would be a line of monks walking down the street in like a conga line, and if you had a car, you could hit them all and go boom, 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 bonus points because you killed all the monks with the car, right? So there's been games like this since the 90s, really. I bring back, oh god, what was the name of that one? There was one that I played that was like a top-down, really brutal fucking shooter that was on PlayStation. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what the name of it was now. But that one also was called out pretty harshly when it came out for being an incredibly brutal, violent game at the time. And I can't remember what the hell the name of it was. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about if you've played it. It wasn't, no, not Postal. Some people are saying Postal. That's different. That was on PC. I can't remember what it was. It was a top-down shooter. But anyway, you know, there's been violent games like this before, all right? But here's the thing. And here's kind of one of the points that I want to make tonight. Those games, Reloaded, someone got it. Reloaded, that was it. You win. Jägermonster 720, you win the grand prize tonight. I salute you, sir or madam, whichever you are. You got it. It was Reloaded. And people called that game out so much in the 90s saying, why is it so brutal? And, it was just a gross game. But anyway, I digress. In a game like Grand Theft Auto, yes, you very much will have the ability to do that and just kill innocents for no reason. There's two things, though. Number one, that's not the purpose of the game. You can't beat Grand Theft Auto by doing that. Yes, the capability's there, but that's kind of almost a misuse of the game. You're supposed to be trying to avoid the police, to avoid killing innocents because that attracts the attention of the police and it hinders you from being a successful criminal. So literally what Grand Theft Auto teaches you is that even if you want to be a good person or if you want to be a bad criminal, you still don't want to kill innocent people because it hinders your progress. That's kind of the point I'm making. It's there, but that wasn't the point of the game. You don't win by doing that, okay? Now let's talk about, we talked about classic games. Let's talk about a more recent game. A game that just a few years ago caused huge uproar and controversy in the mainstream media. Call of Duty. If you remember, I believe it was Call of Duty, was it Modern Warfare 2, I think it was, had a stage where you were an undercover agent with a bunch of real Russian terrorists. And you walk into an airport, and these Russian terrorists said, mow down everyone in this airport, but don't kill any Russians. I think the name of the stage was No Russian. And they proceeded to take automatic weapons and just kill innocent people right in front of you. Now, you didn't have to shoot the people, but you could. Like, that was the stage. You were supposed to be impersonating a terrorist where you wanted to shoot the people. And the stage was so controversial that the game developer actually put an option into the game that you could skip that entire stage if you wanted. That they would just explain later on what happened if you skipped the stage, so that you didn't have to participate in any kind of slaughter of innocents, alright? But even then, even when it was optional, and even when you didn't have to shoot anyone, and even when you could skip it, the game still got massive negative coverage, saying what a game to have this kind of moral dilemma in the game. And honestly, I think it actually probably sold more games because you had that stage in there that was so controversial. Okay? Okay. So, we've had games like this in the past where you slaughter innocents, where there's the ability. But let's compare. Grand Theft Auto 1. You're driving a car down the street and you kill a conga line of monks. Well, guess what? It's fantasy. It's the realm of fantasy. Because how many conga lines of monks do you see walking down your local street where you can jump into a stolen Firebird, drive down the road, and... You know what I mean? It's the realm of fantasy. In Grand Theft Auto games, when you're racking up the kills and the cops are coming, do you really think that's what would happen in real life? You'd be dead probably within 15 minutes as cops started swarming in and shot the fuck out of you. You're not really Superman in real life, and you can't do that shit. And again, it hinders your actual goal to progress in the game. Modern Warfare 2, yes, it had that stage where innocents could be slaughtered, but it was a narrative piece to speak to the morality of the game, where you had this real evil terrorist organization that was willing to go all out and do whatever the hell they needed to do in order to get their goals accomplished. You were an undercover guy, now torn morally. What do you do to keep your cover? What's more important, keeping your cover or actually not doing the horrible, immorally wrong thing that may haunt you for the rest of your life? It was actually kind of a critical moment in gaming where you have to make that kind of decision. Hatred, not so much. Hatred seems to be a game that's being made just for the sake of shock value, where the only incentive, why would you want to play Hatred? Because I want to kill people. And it's like, but is there an end goal? Is there some kind of a noble thing? Is it that the ends justify the means? In this game, there are no ends. It's just kill people, all right? And I think the real reason that we're having as much controversy surrounded around this game as we have, all right, is because recently, in real life, we're not talking the realm of video games anymore. We're talking real life. In the past, what, 2-3 years, we've had a string of just out of control, unexplainable shootings, mass shootings in the United States alone. Now, I know there's been ones in Canada, and there's been ones in Great Britain and other places as well. I'm only speaking from my personal experience, and I hate to say it, but the American media is very closed-minded when it comes to international events, and they don't cover them properly. In fact, a lot of the times they try to cover them up to pretend like America is the only important country in the world. So even though I'm absolutely sure there have been these incidents outside of America, I don't know about them because my media system doesn't allow me to see them, right? They shove those things under the rug. So in America alone, we've had multiple school shootings. We've had theater shootings. We've had, you know, military base shootings. We've had people they're losing their minds. They get their hands somehow on automatic weapons, whether it's legal means or underhanded means, whatever it is. It seems like most of the times it ends up being legal means. Someone who legally has this weapon somehow, they get their hands on it. They grab it, they go out to where they're not supposed to be, and they set something up, and they just kill for the sake of fucking killing. And, you know, when you have that in real life, when you have that horror, that's real horror. Right now, we're in the middle of October. We're about to end October. Halloween is tomorrow. Real horror is not knowing that some normally safe place that you frequent, somewhere where you have, it's a haven, it's a place where you feel, especially in a school or a hospital or a military base, where it's like a place of safety and even learning and education and or healing, and that is where someone chooses to stage this horrendous, horrific act. That's real horror. Never knowing that you're safe. That's the kind of horror that keeps you up at night. That's the kind of horror that fucks with your mind and makes you a nervous person and it makes you fall apart, all right? That's a horrible fucking thing. And we have a major problem in the United States of America that we have this repeatedly happening, and no one can seem to figure out why it's happening or how to solve it. Well, guess what, Mr. Politician? How about you stop caring about censoring the fucking internet, immigration reform, and all that fucking bullshit that no one cares about, except for you and the money-making corporations, and instead you figure out how the fuck you stop us from slaughtering ourselves for no fucking reason, because that's more fucking important. And that pisses me off that our politicians in this country won't focus on important shit because they want to line their pockets with this. But that's... And now I hear clapping outside. But that's despite the point that I'm trying to make here. The point that I'm trying to make is we have real-life horror. Do we want to simulate the horror? Like, it's not bad enough when you turn on your television and you hear that there was another school shooting or another crazy maniac pulled out 2 fucking AK-47s and went to town and just slaughtered a dozen people. Do you need to play that in a video game? What is the purpose? And some people will argue, well, video games are simulations and release. So if you play a violent video game, you actually release that tendency from your body, and therefore you have no tendency to want to do that in real life. I don't know if that's the case. Let me be honest with you guys. I played Street Fighter my whole life, sometimes competitively. I don't know that if I didn't play competitive Street Fighter, that I would have went out into the street and started fucking doing flying ninja kicks and fucking rolling Blanca balls across the street to fight people. And I think that a lot of this bullshit that people pull out of their ass to justify stuff is just that, okay? I think that, yes, video games are a fantasy medium to give you release and to give you fun, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it makes you do or not do what the game medium is. For me, a good game succeeds at being artistic and being entertaining. Does it relay an interesting narrative story, or does it have gameplay that's either competitive or addictive and fun, and you get some kind of entertainment value out of it? I'm sorry, maybe I'm just a moral beast at heart, but maybe this moral beast doesn't think that slaughtering people for no reason is fun. Like, if I played this game, I'd probably hate it. I'd be like, what the fuck? I don't want to just kill people for the sake of killing people. It makes no sense. I want a logic behind it. If I have to, God forbid, ever in my life take someone else's life, I want justification for it. I don't want to just say, I do it for the sake of fucking doing it because it's fun. No. And that's, unfortunately, I think what a lot of people have an issue with this game is, what if people start playing that and think it is fun? It is fun just to go and kill mass people at the supermarket. So what's the next step? To just walk into your aunt's closet because she's some crazy right-wing gun nut, pulling her fucking AK-47 out of the thing that you're not supposed to know about, and going to your local supermarket and mowing people down. And I think that's the next logical step that people are afraid of. So, of course, there's all other things behind this as well. There's also, supposedly, the developers of this game are being accused of being neo-Nazis and stuff like that. I don't know anything about that. That's all beside the point of just the fact that the game is existing and that they're actually developing this game, okay? So, I don't know, ultimately, what's going to happen. Will this game be made? Will this game exist in the form? Is this game being made just for controversy's sake? That could be true, too. Maybe the game is just being made for the shock value of it, so that they can maybe release, even if it doesn't even come out to a major release, it just has an indie release on the internet, and it's $1 to download the game, and 500 idiot schmucks download it. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of this game is. I don't know how they think it would actually even exist, like, in its current form. Do you really think the ESRB, the ratings board, is ever going to pass that game? Of course not. That's insane. They're going to say there's nothing behind this. It's gross. Just like they would never pass an overly sexual game with rape or anything like that, and it's horrible. So, I don't know what is going on with this game. And, I mean, it's funny because I've seen people talk about, oh man, I actually want to play that game. It's like, what? Like, what kind of a mind do you have? This is the game you want to play. I can understand if you want to be a criminal and have the dark side of life. What is it like to be a professional criminal? What is it like to do these things that normally you wouldn't do in real life? But to put yourself in the shoes of someone who would do something just insane like that is just I can't fathom that. I cannot fathom that. And I just don't understand people who have that mindset. Maybe I'm a different person coming from a different place than you. But for me, like, the things that I like in life are positive things. You know, not taking. Giving, not taking. Let's put it that way. So for me to just take, which is what that is gross and disgusting. And for me personally, I will not play the game. I don't give a shit when it comes out or whatever. It's something that I have no interest in. It's gross. And I can't imagine what kind of people would want to play a game like that unless you actually have some kind of an issue going on in your head. And why they're even developing this game. I really think that it is just for shock value, and they're trying to get their name out there. And that's really the bottom line when it comes to it. So the thing is, it's a whole controversial thing. The game's not going to get past. The game's not going to be released like that. They can't. They can't release a game that's just killing for killing. It will never get past the ESRB. So at this point, you know, people all up in arms about this game. Oh no, I can't believe it's never going to be released anyway. If it does actually ever get released, it's probably going to be a different version, or it'll be unreleased. You know what I mean? Like unofficially released, and they try to find a way to distribute it on the internet or whatever. But I don't know. You guys can obviously have your own opinions on what is right and wrong, and what, you know, kind of stuff that you would want to play. I just cannot, in my head, in my experience, that I would want to be playing a game like that. That's just stupid. And I don't think that, again, anyone who has a logical mind or a moral compass at all would ever want to play a game like that, or even care. You know what I mean? That's why people are in such a tizzy about it, is because what is the next logical step? Okay, well, it was all right to simulate it. Let's just do it now, right? So, I don't know. I mean, that's just me talking from...
So you think Rockstar does it better? Because they have rampages, remember? And every Grand Theft Auto game, and Grand Theft Auto 5, specifically Trevor's character, went on crazy rampages, but it wasn't the sole purpose of the game. So you think they do it better? No,
I just don't think... I mean, those things were bonus content. It was bonus content added to pad the game. It wasn't the core focus of the game. And obviously, it was done in a silly manner as well. It wasn't anything serious. All of a sudden, when you start killing... hipsters, they start pulling out weapons and shooting you and driving you. Well, I don't know about I'm talking about from my personal experience. It was added. It was bonus padded, you know, content added onto pad the game. It wasn't the core focus. In this game, that is how you win, is just to slaughter, and that's what I don't understand about the game. So, all right. So that's it.
Fair enough.
Yes.
I'm just listening.
All right, so that's my opinion. You can have yours. We'll see what happens with the development of this game over the next several months to year, whatever, if it even gets released, and we'll readdress the situation when it comes back and when we see what happens with that. But that's it for our first segment of Hate Live. We're going to take a break. I definitely need to recharge. I have no water or nothing here. I drank everything, and we're going to come back, and we're going to have our Back in the Day segment all about classic advertising in the 80s and 90s when I grew up. I hope that you guys will enjoy that segment, and you'll stick around. So if you're watching this on Twitch TV, there's going to be a short commercial break. Hang in there. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the description of the video. There's a annotation right there that you can click and jump right ahead to the next segment of the show without having to sit around and wait. All right? Thanks, everyone, and I'll be right back with more Hate Live. Alright everyone, hello and welcome back to Hate Live, segment 2. Back in the day, where we are going to go all sellout this time. That's right, we're going to head right into that commercial era. That time of the year when everything is about buy, 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 spend, 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 me, 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 screw you. The time when the stores traditionally go from the red into the black. We are talking about the month of November. And of course, in the month of November, we've got all this crazy shopping going on, sales out the wazoo. People completely forget that Thanksgiving even exists and head straight into Christmas and the commercialist aspect of the United States of America and, in a lot of ways, the entire world. And so today's Back in This Day segment is going to be focused primarily on advertisement. How was it that when I was a kid, that these companies would brainstorm these ideas to basically sell their products? And sometimes it would be a catchy slogan, sometimes it would be a cute little jingle, sometimes it would just be a viral commercial that made absolutely no sense. Some stuff I just never understood, like how it even passed. And where do you see some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today? Here's the one unfortunate thing. I can't show you guys clips. I actually have clips queued up right here that I could play, but I can't because I'll get in trouble because these are ad campaigns that are all obviously owned by advertisement companies and whatever the core product or company is that produce these things. So I can't. I wish I could. But I urge you strongly that after you watch this segment of the show, head over to the internet and just search for some of these. You're going to watch them and be like, what the hell did I just watch? Or some of you might say, oh, catchy tune. You know, I can't get out of my head. And, it was definitely an interesting era. I'd say the mid to late 80s into early 90s because it was a very big transitional era. At that time, and I know a lot of people might find this funny, at that time a lot of people had a lot of money. It was not like today. Today, after the the internet crash in the late 90s into 2000s, the financial crash in the second half of the 2000s, now these days things are tight, right? It's very hard to even have a lot of disposable income to spend on luxury items. But back then it was like, a lot of people were kind of sitting pretty with the amount of money that they had in the United States, and it was all about the ads. How can I, within 90 seconds, play something on TV that's going to stay with you, but it's also going to keep you hooked, that you want to keep this product in mind and eventually go purchase it, eat it, whatever it was. And you're going to see that there's actually a whole slew of things that don't make any sense. They're kind of funny. So anyway, let's get into it. Let me open up some of these things. And then I'm going to give you some of my own personal ones out of my own head that I know. But I actually looked up some of the top ones from the 80s and 90s. So first of all, let's go a little more retro. Let's actually go back to 1986 when candy. People were just trying to sell candy, right? And it was very hard, you know, especially when that, by the way, this was before the health craze of the 90s. So back then, candy was like an innocent thing, a fun thing, a kiddie thing. But this one particular candy, Kit Kat, decided that they were going to take it to the extra level. That candy wasn't just for little kids anymore. That this was something that was a cool, happening thing. And that candy should be something that everyone enjoys and everyone shares. And it's almost like a social thing. And so they actually came up with this really catchy theme song that I have not heard in like 20 years. But back then, it was like all the rage. So I don't know if anyone of you heard it. So you have a little catch. Maybe you hear someone snapping or you hear the music playing. We go. Very simple beat, right? Very simple. Boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden, someone would pull out a Kit Kat. Now, if you don't know what a Kit Kat is, it's a chocolate bar that's 4 little wafers that are connected together, and you snap them off to have 4 like little mini bars of wafer and chocolate that you bite off. But it was actually based off of the sound that it makes kind of when you snap the bar off. That's what the snap was supposed to be. And then the song would go, give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. And then, of course, there was a whole, different verses. And like the chocolate taste will make your day. Wherever you go, you hear the people say. But the commercials were not usually, there were some kids in them, but it was like people of all ages. You would have a freaking kid, he'd snap it off and give it to a friend. Then the picture that I'm looking at right now is a bunch of teenagers at like a diner. Now, where the fuck do you get a Kit Kat bar at a diner? Last time I checked, they don't sell candy bars at a diner, but apparently they brought it in or something. And like, they're snapping it off at the diner, and then so, parents dancing around, Kit Kat bar, yeah, baby, give it a break. And it was just so catchy. It made no sense. Like, when you have a Kit Kat bar, do you want to snap off it and start handing it around, or you want to eat the fucking bar yourself? You want to eat the goddamn Kit Kat yourself. But it was this real weird thing that they did. And it caught on because the song was, give me a break, give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. And it just caught on everywhere. Like, for years, you'd hear people walking down the street singing that, and you're like, what the hell? And like, oh, and I've never even had a Kit Kat, but I know the fucking Kit Kat song. So that's just one example of the very viral stuff that they did that caught on. It wasn't because it wasn't because of the chocolate. It wasn't because of the wafer. It wasn't because of the product itself. It was just because of a catchy ad that caught on, and all of a sudden, boom, Kit Kat had like a huge surge in sales in the 1980s. Another one, oh, this was huge, and then it went away. It kind of went away around the mid to late 90s as toys, physical toys. You know what I mean? Action figures, bikes and building blocks, toys, not video games. We're just talking the physical toys. Kind of started to fall out of style in the 2000s, and I think that's where this one kind of fell out. But I'm talking about Toys R Us, the big ad campaign they had in the 1980s. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. And so there were different versions of this song. But basically, it was like a little kid would be singing. He'd be like, I don't want to grow up because I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. From bikes to trains to video games. It's the biggest toy store there is. I don't want to grow up because maybe if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. And that was just cute. It was cute to hear a kid sing that and be like, oh, there's a kid. He never wants to grow up and mature because he loves to play with toys. It's innocent, right? But it was funny because later on there were variations where like adults were singing it. And it was like, I guess it was supposed to be like symbolic that they're still a kid at heart. But it was actually kind of creepy. Like, do you want to hear kids sing about how he wants to go to Toys R Us and play with toys? Like, you know, a 40-year-old man dancing around about how he wants to play with a He-Man figure. And I think what kind of happened was toy stores, unfortunately, really fell out of favor around the mid-90s into the first half of the 2000s when, again, the era of the physical toy kind of fell apart when everything became digital. You had the internet, you had video games, you had things online. That's what the kids got into eventually. And now, of course, now everything's video games, video games, video games, video games. Oh, what game am I playing on my fucking iPhone while I'm playing my Call of Duty on my fucking gamepad like this? It's all video games. How often do you even see a kid play with an action figure anymore? Most of them don't exist anymore. But one of the weird things about Toys R Us, I mean, their mascot, Jeffrey, was supposed to be like a smiling giraffe. And when you see him in cartoon form, he actually looks okay, it's a cartoon, it's cool. But then you see him in like his outfit. They'd actually have at Toys R Us a guy dressed up as Jeffrey in one of those fucking furry outfits. He'd have this big long fake neck it was bizarre. It was like, I didn't need to see a guy dress up like a fucking giraffe to tell me to go inside and buy a toy, seriously. It was just a really weird thing. But again, I remember that was one of the biggest things of the 80s. When it came to advertisements for kids. Oh, here's a big... Oh, my goodness. This is a big one. This is a big one. Connect 4. Boy, let me tell you, if you wanted to take an innocent game and turn it into, like, the most cutthroat, competitive thing ever, Connect 4's advertisement did it. So, the way that this worked, it was always two little kids, right? And they had the Connect 4. If you don't know what Connect 4 is... I loved Connect 4 as a kid, by the way. I had it. I played the shit out of it with everyone I knew. My parents, my friends. I loved Connect 4. It's basically a grid, okay? In fact, here you go. Imagine this. Just don't look here. Imagine this was a grid, okay? It's hollow plastic, and you would have little checkers. And you would put the checkers into the grid, and so the checker would show up, say, in each square, right? Oh, this one's red, this one's black. This one's red, this one's black. And that's what it is. It would be two different teams. One person plays red, one person plays black. And what you would do is you would, in this board, you would try to put your checkers in one at a time. So, oh, I flip a coin. I go first. All right, put one. Okay, then the other person, I'm red. I put mine here. Okay, then black goes, then red goes. And what your goal is to build a line of 4 in a row. Now, it could be horizontal, it could be vertical, or it could be diagonal. And what ended up happening, similar to tic-tac-toe, is really it's advanced tic-tac-toe is what Connect 4 is. And there would be tactics to it. You'd put one here, and you try to build certain patterns so that they couldn't build a Connect 4 there because you took all the possible spots. You'd have to try to block. Really what the ultimate goal was to make an unblockable move. So you'd have 3 in a row, but you'd have 2 open ones. So no matter what, if they blocked one, you would win because you'd put it on the other side. That's how you won Connect 4. So really the premise is pretty basic. Once you play Connect 4 maybe a dozen times, you start to remember more or realize some of the advanced tactics. But it is a pretty fun game. It's actually, I'd say, one of the games that I played at a younger age that really made me think a little bit about how can I win this. But let me tell you, the advertisements on TV made it sound like you were like fighting for the North versus South, or like, you know, democracy versus communism. Like, seriously, like it was like almost a patriotic theme. It was like, go for it, red, go for it, black, go for it. Connect 4, and then we go 3 in a row, and go for 1 more, and then it would go, watch for the block, forget it, you're stuck. You know, it would describe the moves of the game, and then all of a sudden it like changes at the end. Go for the glory, and go for the score, go for the win, go for Connect 4, and it's like, what the? It sounds like a fighting anthem. You know what I mean? Literally, like you're trying to use propaganda to rev up your army before a fight. And I can just imagine these 2 kids, right? They're playing Connect 4. And one kid, he like sneezes or something, or one kid puts 2 in to be a dick. He's like, fuck you, man, this is Connect 4, it's serious shit. And they start like fighting over the table, and then all the checkers pour out of the Connect 4 all over the floor. Like, that was one of the things about Connect 4 too. The way that it worked, it was vertical, and you had a slot that you would, or like almost like a little grip that you would pull, and it would eject all the checkers out. But sometimes it would be loose, and you'd play. You made like the last move of the game. I'm gonna get Connect 4, and then the thing would just fall. So imagine like a heated game of Connect 4. You're all pumped up from the song, from the ad, and motherfucker. It was funny. Again, they're taking this shit so seriously. They're taking this shit so seriously. It was like, it was a silly game. But it was a silly game, but it was just so ridiculous, the ads for it. Oh my god. So here was one of them. This is one of the ones, I don't know how this ad campaign, gum. Let me tell you guys something. In the 1980s to early 1990s, gum lost its mind. All of a sudden, people couldn't just say, I need to go chew a piece of gum because I got bad breath, or, you know, I got bad taste in my mouth, or maybe I had something with garlic and I want to get that flavor out, or people just chew gum to chew gum. A lot of people like to chew gum because they were cigarette smokers and it would help them to either make their breath smell better or just to not want to smoke a cigarette. But gum decided in the 1980s and 1990s they needed to sell a shitload of gum. Not that there's always demand for gum, but I guess they've decided that we need to sell gum, man. We just need to. And so a few different gum companies did this weird shit with their gum. That, first of all, let's talk about Big Red. Now, if you never had Big Red before, it's actually a very different gum. A lot of gums are fruit flavored or mint flavored. You know what I mean? Everything has like a gimmick. Big Red wasn't any kind of a flavor that you tasted. It was almost like cinnamon, but not. It was like a stronger biting cinnamon, but it wasn't. So it really, really, like, how do you market a strong biting cinnamon gum? Like, how do you even market that gum? And where did they find the freaking weird marketing campaign? It started in 1988, all right? So just listen to this. I'm just not gonna read it. I'm not gonna sing. I'm gonna read it. So kiss a little longer. Hold hands a little longer. Ooh, hold tight a little longer. Longer with Big Red. And then it would actually remember, Big Red freshness will last right through it. Your fresh breath goes on and on while you chew it. So stay close a little longer, something a little longer. So basically what they're saying, it's almost like a sexual innuendo. Like, hold out longer when you're chewing Big Red or something. So pump her a little longer. You don't need as much lube, but keep pumping her longer with Big Red. Like, what? Like, what? Like, what does... First of all, if you have gum in your mouth, you don't want to kiss someone. That's gross. Imagine, I want to have a French kiss with my girlfriend. You go to French, or you get a fucking giant piece of gum in your mouth, or a big wad of gum. That's gross. Who would even kiss someone who has gum in their mouth to begin with? That's disgusting. So just the premise of the ad is flawed and nasty, yet this actually caught on big time. Like, it was huge. It was like everyone was singing that, like, oh, Big Red is the romantic gum. You should buy Big Red and then kiss your loved one. Like, what? It was so weird. Maybe she'll put out a little stronger if you're chewing on Big Red. I just don't get it. It was really, and it was huge. I'm telling you, for like 7 years, they ran ads that said that shit. And I was just like, what? Like, really? Okay, well, now there's another one. I don't know if I have it on this countdown here. Oh, there's 2 more. Oh, fuck, there's 2 more. All right, here's another one. This is a weird one, all right? First of all, I just want to tell you the name. You might not even recognize the name of this gum when I mention it, because I don't even think it's big anymore. Juicy Fruit. The name is Juicy Fruit. So, of course, imagine, when you think about the word, there's the name of the gum, Juicy Fruit. Ooh. So that's going to be a piece of gum. I'm going to chew it. It's going to taste like refreshing juices, sweet fruit flavors, maybe some tropical stuff to it, right? That's Juicy Fruit. That's what you think it's going to taste like. Juicy Fruit tastes nothing like that. Juicy Fruit doesn't taste like fruit, and it's not juicy. It kind of tastes almost like overly sweet, like a really powerful sweetener. There's no bite and no like spice to it like Big Red. It's a more mellow, sweet gum. So just the name doesn't fit the product. It's just like sugar in your mouth. So how do you brand a gum that's name says it tastes like fruit but tastes nothing like fruit? Well, of course, you make an ad campaign that has nothing to do with gum. That's right, nothing. Like, literally, nothing. The premise of Juicy Fruit's ad campaign in the 1980s, I'm going to read it. The taste is gonna move ya. And so it would say, Juicy Fruit, it gets right to ya. Starting strong, and it goes right through ya. Juicy Fruit, the taste is gonna move ya. Now, what would you see in the commercial when this was happening? You'd a fucking skier would like get up, he'd be like a full gear, like, oh, Juicy Fruit. He'd eat it, he'd be like energized, like Popeye eating his spinach. He'd be like, oh, I'm so energized. And he'd jump and do like a super twisting, fucking crazy maneuver in the air. You have a gymnast, oh, Juicy Fruit, bites the Juicy Fruit and does like a fucking double, triple backflip and like crazy Olympic style stuff. And it was like, what? Really? Like, this is seriously like, this worked, and it worked. Because it was catchy. Juicy Fruit is gonna move ya. And that's what it was. The core of advertising in that time was not that the commercial made any logical sense, but that there was something that was catchy and would catch on and people would remember it. So when you go to the store and you're going to buy gum, if you're in a romantic mood and you want to get it on, you'll probably buy Big Red. If you're really feeling energetic and you're going to do something exciting today, you go buy Juicy Fruit. You know what I mean? All right, now we're going to really get into it with the final gum one that I want to talk about tonight. This was the most infamous one out of all gum, by far, okay? And I don't know how they got away with some of it, because I think, honestly, some of it had a lot of innuendo to it. I remember watching this as a kid and saying, that doesn't seem, like, right, okay? Let's see if anyone, I'm looking to see if any of you guys can guess what this one's going to be. The weirdest, by far, the weirdest gum ads of the late 1980s and early 1990s were double mint gum, okay? Double mint gum. Let me give you, first of all, an explanation of double mint gum and what it's supposed to be. Double mint gum is supposed to be a gum that has 2 kinds of mint. I think it was supposed to be the combination of spearmint and standard mint, or spearmint and peppermint. I'm not clear on that because it's never actually explained in any of the advertising of double mint gum. Alright? In fact, when you chew double mint gum, you go to chew it and it's like, it looks like just a normal piece of gum. So why do they call it double mint? The name, again, really didn't match the gum. This was kind of a problem with all the gums of this era. Like, what? Well, I don't get it, right? So double mint gum. The advertisement. How do you advertise a gum that has 2 kinds of mint in it? Well, what they decided to do, were they going to say, oh, at first you get one mint and then you get the other and it invigorates you, or no. Their advertisement, double your pleasure, double your fun. So, literally, basically the gum was about being incredibly indulgent. Now, first of all, just the catchphrase, just think about that. Double your pleasure, double your fun. Doesn't that almost sound sexual? You know what I mean? Like, why have one hot girl when you can have 2? Why have $1 million when you can have 2? Right? It's just like, okay, it makes sense. But it's kind of silly. What does that have to do with gum? Okay, what the hell does that have to do with gum? And so I remember the commercial. They actually had these 2 blonde girls. They were called the Double Mint Twins. because in every ad for Double Mint, they would be in there, and it would be, there were twins, you know, kind of, you know, late 80s, early 90s model. I'm almost thinking, like, you guys ever saw The Price is Right? And you see the caliber of girl on there that they used to call Barker's Beauties, the girls who would turn the letters or do all the things on the... It was like they were like game show girls, basically. Like little minor lower class models that would be in this. And it would be like, double your pleasure, double your fun. So they show one hot blonde, and then another one would walk up right next to her. And I'd be like, hey, yeah, I'm going to double my pleasure and my fun. But how did Double Mint Gum do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's funny. It's funny. It's like tongue-in-cheek humor. But why would you buy Double Mint Gum? How is that going to get me the 2 hot blondes? How many people bought Double Mint Gum and thought that it was going to get them 2 hot blondes? This doesn't make sense. Of course, there were other things in the commercial. Oh, one guy has one hot dog. All of a sudden, there's a second giant, delicious footlong right here. Like, that's not innuendo, right? I remember even specifically there was ice cream. One and another. And then they go, and lick the ice cream. And you'd be like, oh, come on. What are you trying to reference here? So, I don't know. It was just really weird with gum. All right, I'm just scraping the tip of the iceberg here with some of these. Let's go into some different one. Not gum now. Let's do something different. Let me head down to the bottom of the page here. Oh, that one's done. Let me go to the other one here. And then I'm going to do some of my personal favorites that actually today on stream I was singing that just really got me. I was like, this is so fucking weird. Oh, here's a good one. Chicken. Chicken. Now, am I talking about KFC? Are we talking about, you know, a certain brand of chicken? Weaver chicken? No, we're just talking chicken. And you're like, chicken? Like, in general? Yeah. Apparently there was some kind of like a poultry board or something in the 1980s and 90s that like their proponent was, we need to sell more chicken overall. We don't care if you're buying fresh from the store, if you're buying frozen, if you're buying fast food, if you're buying freshly baked, roasted yourself, rotisserie. We just need to sell more chicken. Now, I don't know who the chicken authority is, who is in charge. I want to be, can I be that? Can I be the chicken lord, the lord of the fowl, and I am in charge of making sure that chickens sell? It doesn't even make sense, but it existed because there was an ad campaign going on during the early 1990s. In 1990 debuted. I feel like chicken tonight. This is so funny, this shit. Here, I just got to tell you how this ad campaign went. It would show like a bunch of people just standing around, maybe a family, right? And a mom or a kid would say, well, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? And someone would go, I feel like chicken tonight, like chicken tonight. And I swear to God. I swear to God, that's what they did. And people were like, what the fuck? Oh, bringing in the dance, like, chicken, baby, we'll chicken tonight, baby, chicken tonight. Huh? And then, of course, they'd show fresh veggies would fly across the screen with water squirting out of them. And fucking chicken. Oh, chicken. You're eating fucking chicken and you're chopping up chicken. It was like, what? Like, what? And you just watch it. You're like, this is so bizarre. Like, wait a minute. Like, who is in charge of just it wasn't a brand of chicken. It was just chicken in general. Like, remember later on, I mean, one of the bigger ones later on was Got Milk. I think everyone knows Got Milk. But who's responsible for that? The milk peoples? I want to be the supreme chancellor of milk and dairy so I can make up slogans to just sell milk. Like, who's in charge of that? I want to know. So anyway, the chicken one was just so weird. I feel like chicken tonight. And it was, huh? Like, it's so, but it was very popular. It was very, very popular. Oh, okay, this one's huge. And a lot of people don't realize this because this got revived later on in the 2000s, but actually it had its origins in the early 90s. Mentos, the fresh maker. So later on, it ended up becoming like a slogan with a bunch of songs and stuff associated with it. But Mentos in the 90s, it was just, remember, it was so weird. Like, you would eat a Mentos. Now, for those you might not even know what Mentos is. It's not gum, it's candy. It's like a mint combined with candy. It's like a chewy center surrounded by almost a sugary, hard candy casing. And they're different. The original Mentos is mint. It's refreshing. But there's also flavored ones. And I actually really liked the flavored ones as a kid. But it was so weird because it would be like, so the guy's painting a bench, right? And he just can't get it right. Sloppy. He's making a fucking mess. So he's like, I'm going to take a break. And he'd pull out this roll of Mentos. They come in rolls, long rolls. He just pull it out of nowhere. Like, where the fuck did he get this giant roll from? Was it up his ass and he popped it out? He pulls it out, oh, and he'll open up, first of all, in the commercial is bullshit, because it was actually hard to open these things. What it was a roll of tin foil with the candy inside, surrounded by a piece of paper to hold it together. But to open it was a pain in the ass. It was glued, so you had to, like, fucking fumble with it to try to get the end open. You're, like, fighting it to get it. In the commercial, oh, watch this, I want one, oh, whoop, oh, it's out, bonk. It's like, yeah, okay, like, you could really do that. So we'd eat one, and all of a sudden, again, it's like Popeye with his spinach. Like, he starts painting. Oh my god, it's perfect. And he's just flying through this bench. And then at the end of the commercial, they go, Mentos, the fresh maker. Just like that. The voice would say that. The fresh maker. What? He ate a piece of candy, and all of a sudden, he became some amazing fucking performer. And that was just one example. You know, that was one example. It was, you know, many different things that they did in these commercials, but it was just funny. We'll do a couple more. We're running out of time, so I only want to do one or two more here, maybe. I gotta do this one. Mousetrap. This was incredible, because Mousetrap was a board game in the 1990s. If it started in 1990, that literally only worked about 5 times, all right? It was the most complex board game ever created. What it was a game where you each play a mouse and you spin, and as you spin, basically it'll give you a reading or whatever, and you're going through this thing, and as you hit certain spots, you need to build a new part of this crazy mousetrap. Now, do you ever see one of these devices, and I forget what they're called, it was a Rube Goldberg device, I think it's called, one of these really complex devices where maybe you have dominoes falling over, then it hits a ball, the ball rolls, it hits a little boot, the boot kicks something, it flies in the air, it breaks an egg, the egg pours into a bowl that weighs the bowl down, it launches a ping pong ball that lands in a cat's asshole, the cat's surprised, so it scratches the toilet paper rips off the wall, which angers the man who was reaching for the toilet paper and accidentally slips off the toilet, spewing shit across the house, lands inside the sink, turns the sink on, washes the shit out, and all of a sudden, it does some tiny little result, like maybe a flower would open, or maybe a balloon is released and flies off into the air. That's a Rube Goldberg device, having really complex methods to do something, simple. And that was the premise of Mousetrap, is that Mousetrap was a Rube Goldberg device of a mousetrap. It had, like, boots kicking guys in the ass, and the guy would dive into a pan. And I remember it would say, Mousetrap, I guarantee it's the craziest trap you ever see. You knock the hole into the... No, you knock the ball into the fall, you hit the man into the pan, the trap is set, here comes the net, bup, 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 bup. And the whole commercial was like that. It was kind of like a peddler, like at one of those old carnivals. He's going to do this and this and this and this, and then it does this and this and this, and up, 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 up. And I can't remember the whole commercial now because it's been so long since I heard it, but I used to know the whole thing. It was like, you hit the man into the pan, hit the ball into the hole, in the boot, into the ass, and shoot, or something like that. And it was just ongoing. And it was fun. I mean, you see this commercial, and you're like, I can have my own Rube Goldberg device in my house. I have to get this fucking game right now. And everyone I knew ran out and bought it, set it up at home, it worked twice, and after that, it never worked again. Either the boot would come, this would be the guy standing, and the boot would go to kick him in the ass, and it would go, and do nothing. And you're like, well, that didn't work. Or the ball would go pop, and the ball would pop up and go, whoop, and fly off the game board, and you're like, where the fuck did the ball go? And I gotta go chase it across the house. The premise of the game was that the trap doesn't actually work. The trap wasn't supposed to work until it's built, and then there's luck if it works or not. Like, that was supposed to be the premise of the game. Will the trap work when you finally get to activate it? And sometimes it would, and sometimes it wouldn't. But I remember we did eventually have to get rid of the game because the pieces were all breaking. I really remember that. I don't know. It was just weird. It was a weird one. We'll do maybe one or two more. This one was huge. I never drank it because I knew it was disgusting, but my dad liked it. Folgers Crystals, okay? And this is so stupid because it would be like the dumbest thing. So it would be like 2 people in a log cabin out in the middle of the fucking woods. And they wake up and they look amazingly refreshed even though they're living in a log cabin. So I don't know how they look like supermodels or whatever. It'd be 2 middle-aged people. You know, one guy would be like Mr. Uppity Up Captain Stubing. He'd have like a big turtleneck shirt on like this, all puffy and pretentious. And he'd be walking into the kitchen. Oh, honey, it is a lovely woodland day. What shall we do? And the woman would turn to him with beautiful flowing hair and makeup. Even though, again, they're in a cabin. Why she's wearing makeup and the 2 of them are alone, I have no idea. Big flowing hair and, you know, big tits hanging out. And she's looking all good. Oh, sweetie, I think we need to wake up. Well, did you make the coffee, honey? Oh, yes. And then they would put a big steaming hot cup of coffee and the catch with, the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. I swear he's saying it just like that. I'm not making that shit up. It would be like really over-dramatized. Now, the bottom line about this is the funniest part of this, is that Folgers Crystals, any of you who tasted real coffee versus Folgers Crystals taste like ass. Like, I would rather lick a fucking dog's ass than drink Folgers Crystals. It tastes fucking terrible. It's like drinking sludge. It's gross because it's not strained through any kind of a grinding system. You know what I mean? Real coffee, you're supposed to basically take the coffee beans, grind them up, pour the liquid through, and strain through a filter to create the coffee. This is just like a mix, like making powdered milk, you know what I mean? Or fucking chocolate milk with powder, and you mix it together. It's not coffee, it's fucking disgusting. It literally tastes, you could take a ferret's piece of shit and go, pop it right into your mouth. You'd probably like it better than a fucking Folgers Crystal. It's disgusting. My dad loves it. I don't know why, it's gross. But people, it was huge in the 90s, but the best part of waking up, oh, it's Folgers in your cup. It was like, what? No. I would rather, you know, anything else but Folgers when I wake up, please. It's so fucking nasty. All right. I'm going to probably do one more. Let's do one more on this list, and we'll end it. I'm not even, dude, I haven't even touched the surface. There's all the stuff I wanted to talk about, like other board games and stuff that wasn't in this. I know what I'm going to do, because this is funny. This was a good one. And then we'll talk about other ones at another time. And Matt, you know what? It might be a two-parter. Maybe we'll do two-part advertising because I got so many of these. These are so good. So, there was this board game. Not a lot of people knew about it, surprisingly enough. I don't think a lot of people know about this board game. Alright? It was a weird one. It was called Forbidden Bridge. And I honestly, to God, think the only reason the game ever sold is because of the commercial. The way the game worked, a normal board game, there's a game board that's flat. Like this, right? It's flat. Forbidden Bridge was a huge fucking board. I kid you not. It was like twice the size of a normal game board. It wasn't flat. It was like mountainous, like this. So it had giant ridges going up, like 3D ridges and mountains and stuff. And the way that it worked is that there were several bridges all around this mountainous area, okay? Bridges all around the mountains, 3 or 4 of them. And there was this head on top of the mountain. I forget he had a name. You know, it was just like a tiki head or something like that. And the way it worked is you were supposed to be like explorers who were on this island looking for treasure. And in fact, there were different pieces of treasure, like red gems hidden on the island that you need to get to and capture and then escape the island. The catch was that once someone touched the gem, every turn, this tiki head would randomly, you would turn it and have a little red marble that was supposed to be like a fireball. And you would drop it and it would roll across and it would hit people off these bridges, right? And so it was weird because, like, it was a weird premise. First of all, a game with action like that where you're rolling marbles and smacking them. But just outside of that, that was the premise. The commercial, all right? You'd be like, you are an explorer in the middle of the uncharted jungles, and you're out to find treasure. So it had, like, this Indiana Jones kind of a theme, right? But you must avoid the wrath of the evil tiki god, Kona! And he would show the head and would turn and go, and his eyes would light up ready to go, forbidden. And then he would go, you want to get the gem, but it's, and he would close up on his head again, forbidden. And that was so good. It was like, even if you get the gem, you have to escape. And you don't know if you're going to survive because it must be. And we go like super close. Forbidden! Up in your face, like in the commercial. So the whole commercial was like forbidden, right? It was kind of funny. It would be like, well, mommy, I'm playing the game, but I really have to use the bathroom. Can I get up at forbidden? Oh, well, you know, honey, our hot next door neighbor just asked if I could go next door and help her fix her car. And you know that I'm an engine master, so forbidden! And then, you know, your teenage son walks into the room. Mom, I have an announcement. I'm gay, and my boyfriend and I, Billy, are going to go out on a date. We're coming out today. Forbidden! It was just so good. It was like you could use it for anything. I want to get the clip from that commercial, and when people say shit, just play like forbidden. But that game was crazy. That game was it was funny, dude. It was fucking a funny game. Those are just some examples of the kind of things, you know. And of course, the game, who cares about the game? You just want to sit there the whole game, and people was like, well, I want to roll forbidden. You jump at them, forbidden, forbidden. But, all right. So anyway, so that is it for the advertisement reminiscing of the 80s and 90s for now. Now, if you guys really liked that segment, definitely let me know in the comments of the video on YouTube and on Twitter at They Call Me DSP. And there's a possibility we'll do a part 2, because I am at least going to do one more Hate Live next week for the month of November. Then we're going to take a hiatus for several weeks, as I'm going to be real busy with the amount of games coming out, and then we're going to do an Ask the King special at the end of the month. So if you want to see me possibly do more of this segment, we can maybe do it either next week or maybe when we reconvene in December. So definitely let me know. But if you do want to let me know, whatever you do, don't tell me in the stream chat right now, because it's forbidden. All right, everyone. So, all right. So that's it for Hate Live tonight. We had a lot to talk about. We had a lot of stuff to talk about with the gaming going on right now on my channels. We had 3 crazy, interesting stories to talk about. I really like the back of the day segment that we came up with for tonight, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, spread the word, and hopefully people will check it out. Keep in mind, as soon as I finish this show, I upload it to my YouTube channel, The King of Hate Vlogs. So if you missed any portion of the stream live, check it out there. If you're watching this on YouTube, great. A lot of people from time to time also ask me, Phil, are you ever going to put out an audio-only version of your podcast? And basically what I want to say is, you guys are free to rip the show any way that you want. Even though I know this is on YouTube, it's on my channel, it's my legal property, I give you permission if you want to use any of those third-party websites to rip the show to an MP3 or whatever, so you can listen to it on your iPod or your iPhone or whatever it is, mobile device that you use to listen to stuff audio-wise. I understand that. Of course, today you'll miss a lot of the show because of the stuff that I was just doing for the advertisement portion, but I understand there's some people who want to hear audio. I'm okay with that, as long as you guys, are actively, distributing it on other means so that people aren't watching the show. It's cool. I myself I'll frequently do things like that when I try to get theme music for games and stuff. So go ahead. I believe if you search on either Google or Bing for just vid to MP3 or video to MP3, it should give you a few third-party websites that allow you to just copy a YouTube URL, paste it in, and get the audio version within a few minutes. So I give you permission to do that if you guys are interested and want to make your own MP3 of the show. I'm not against that, okay? That's going to be it for Hate Live tonight, everyone. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I am going to wrap this up. Next week, we'll have the final Hate Live before we take a hiatus for Gaming Overload, which is going to be pretty wild. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we have a special guest. If not, there's usually more than enough to take up the entire show anyway, so we'll see what happens with that. And that is it, everyone. So I would very much like to thank you for watching Hate Live tonight, whether if it was on Twitch TV or on YouTube. Thanks very much. Have a good night. I will see you next time. And I hope to see you, obviously, for all the new gameplay that I'm going to be doing over the next several weeks as we finish off this crazy year of gaming with a ton of releases all coming in a short period of time. I hope that you'll check out the content, especially now that YouTube is doing full 60 frames per second, which is pretty awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. I'll see you next time on Hate Live. Peace out. And by the way, remember, if you try to talk shit about me, it's forbidden! I misclicked. God damn it.